G'day and welcome to Aussievision. My name's Liv and I'm joined here today with the lovely Emma. And we're here to
Hi.
talk about Poland's entry, which is River, sung by Ochman. Emma, would you like to tell us a little bit about this gentleman today?
Sure. Okay. So Ochman, his full name is Christian Ochman. He's a 22-year-old American of Polish descent. So he was actually born and raised in America and then moved to Poland after he graduated high school. And he studied at university there and then entered The Voice in Poland in 2020 and went on to win it. From then on, he released his first album and then entered the Polish national final for Eurovision and won that as well in mid-February.
Excellent. Off to a great start in his career. And I think that self-titled debut album went to number 5 in Poland, which is quite commendable as well. Yeah. Excellent. And today we'll be talking about the jury and televote appeal of the song as per the Aussievision contributors. Each song in Eurovision 2022 was judged out of 10 points on televote appeal and jury appeal, and then it was averaged out to get each score. We'll start off with the jury appeal. The contributors have given it a whopping 9.29 out of 10,
Wow.
which is actually the second highest jury appeal score from our team. Emma, what do you think of that one?
I think that's amazing and well deserved too. I think, there's a lot to like with this song, and I think the jury will recognise that his vocals are sublime. I haven't heard him muck them up at any time. All of his live performances at all of the pre-parties have just been spot on. So I think the juries will really recognise that. Also, the song progresses well. It's very unique. There's nothing else that sounds like this in the competition. I almost found it was 3 songs in one, but in a good way. I just sort of felt it starts off as a sort of a slow ballad and you think that's what you're going to get. And then all of a sudden it moves into sort of electro drums. It turns into something totally different. So there's that real element of surprise there that I think juries will appreciate. So basically I think that score is well deserved and I think the juries are really going to go for this.
Yeah, I'm absolutely agreeing with the team on this one, and I think this has a high probability of being at the pointy end of the jury scores come grand final evening. There's so much consistency in all of his performances. No matter which pre-party or where he's performing, he's shown us that this is something that he can sing and he can do it always, and in a canter, really. It always feels like there's a little bit more in the tank, which is very impressive. He's never having to reach for those notes. And I think that jurors will really appreciate the actual quality in his voice and that he does make it very easy, that change from the lower to the higher registers, because for a lot of singers, they can't pull that off. They can't make it sound as smooth or it sounds a bit janky, but no, he's got that lovely transition, which technically is quite challenging. And I think a juror could turn their head at that, really.
Absolutely.
There's a nice complexity and nuance to the lyrics. It's in English, so people are gonna understand it. It's just something that's overall a really nice and tidy package. And I agree exactly with what you said about it feels like it's going one way. It's just going to be a ballad like that, but then it gives you that little bit of different spice. And it's got to surely be the best range of vocals in the whole competition, right? And jurors
absolutely
love a good vocal, and
they sure do.
Yeah, 100%. All right. And obviously, English being Ochman's first language, his diction is perfect, obviously. And that's also something that jurors look for, is if the diction isn't great, then they can penalise that. And obviously his is going to be perfect. And that's always a big plus as well. Yeah,
that's definitely not an issue for him at all.
No, obviously not. It's his first language. But still, definitely a good thing. All right. On to the televote appeal. Our team has given it 8.29 out of 10, which puts him in the top 10 as well for televote appeal. So 2 very strong results from the team. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, look, I think that's fairly accurate. I think it's probably not as obvious a televote top scorer as some of the sort of more bigger out there songs such as Spain and Norway, Ukraine, perhaps some of the ones that are generating a lot of buzz online. I think this is a little bit more understated. So I think anybody who's watching the contest and who is a casual once-a-year watcher It may not jump out to them as much as some of the bigger performances, but I think anybody who is a true music fan will appreciate that voice straight away, will appreciate the uniqueness in the song. And I definitely think he will get a fair bit of televote love, but it just might not be quite as much as some of the more out there performances.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Poland, whenever they do send something special, I mean, they're usually quite rewarded in the televote. I think they're quite a popular nation, whether you put that down to diaspora help or not. I think this is a song that televoters will like regardless, and diaspora is definitely a positive in that direction anyway. Poland's results recently have been a bit of a mixed bag, and I think there's always goodwill towards countries that can kind of dust themselves off and send something really amazing. I think generally televoters kind of get behind that a bit when a country's been a bit down the dumps for a while. So this is definitely a top tier song that could really get some support behind it. He just seems like such a top bloke whenever I see him in interviews, and I think you sort of see that little bit of soul and passion whenever he performs, and I think that sort of genuine authenticity, you kind of feel it down the lens, and that really can connect with people.
That's right. He really emotes. I can see that he really connects with the lyrics, and he's really feeling what he's singing, which will really appeal to people. And the other point that you raised about the Polish diaspora, that is a great point, because we've seen songs that haven't been anywhere near as popular with the Eurovision fandom come up and just, storm the televote unexpectedly. So we have got that to consider as well. There will be a lot of Polish fans living in other areas of Europe and Australia who will pick up the phone just because it's Poland.
Yes, and, he is a charismatic, a good-looking guy. This is someone I can imagine my mum voting for as well as
That's
me.
Right. Me
All
too.
ages, I feel like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a very accessible song to many generations. And, I like the staging, honestly, that they even had the national final. It's quite pared back and simplistic, but I think that works in the song's favour, because you don't want it to detract from his vocal. His performance is everything.
That's right.
And I think it carries itself all by itself. So from that point of view, I'm not worried about staging. I think, less is more, and I'm sure that they'll probably get the balance just right, I hope. But I know a lot of televoters' heads can be turned by impressive vocals. My dad honestly just votes on that. He goes, that was a big note, and they hit that, and I'm going to vote for that. And honestly, some people are like that, and he's got that type of head-turning vocal that can just bring in votes in that way too. So I definitely see this being a very strong televote song as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, they are coming out of the second semi-final, and he's performing in the 14th in the running order. What do you think of that position? Do you reckon it's a good spot for him?
Yeah, I do actually. And looking at the running order, he's coming after Romania, which is quite a different style of music, quite a poppy dance number. So this is such a contrast to that. So I think it's really going to pop out coming after that. So I think that will really help him.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a real plum spot for him. Montenegro's afterwards, and it's towards the end. I really see this as one of those sealed deals, 100% qualifies personally in my eyes. I don't think they'll have any trouble getting through to the grand final.
Yeah, I cannot see this not qualifying at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, on the opportunity that Ochman is in the grand final, on a good day, where do you see this finishing?
I think it's definite top 10. There is potential for top 5. I think I sort of see it perhaps finishing around the 5th to 7th mark. I'd love to see it higher, but that's where I'm sort of thinking that it might land.
Yeah. In a very similar pocket, I've sort of pitched 4th to 8th in that kind of range, which is would be a stellar result for Poland, and they've been waiting to get something that strong for a little while. Let's just say maybe the vocal isn't on point for whatever reason, or the staging doesn't hit. I still see this being, honestly, on a bad day, probably still a bottom left-hand side of scoreboard song. I just can't imagine this not on the left-hand side. It's just got too much quality, and he's just too consistent, really.
Yeah, I totally agree. I cannot imagine a scenario where he wouldn't be finishing on the left-hand side of the scoreboard, even if his vocals were a little bit off, or like you say, the staging is, not matching the song or whatever. I think he's definitely going to finish left-hand side.
Yeah. Oh, well, sounds like we've got some very positive comments for Poland this year, and we wish the best of luck to Ochman, and thank you very much, and see you later.
Thanks. Bye.